Well, don't expect Rod Rosenstein to join Dancing with the Stars just yet. President Trump met with the Deputy Attorney General today aboard Air Force One, and despite rampant speculation he'd fire him, the president said he has no such plans.
So what did you talk about? But we had a very good talk, I will say.
The meeting came on the heels of a bombshell report by the New York Times claiming Rosenstein wanted to secretly record the president and use the 25th Amendment to remove him from office. Rosenstein denies the report. He says he was just being sarcastic, and the president says he believes him, which can mean only one thing. He's going to fire him. Joining me now to make sense of it all, former Utah Congressman and Fox News contributor Jason Chaffetz. Congressman, welcome. You're also the author of the brand new book, The Deep State. Get yours today. A lot of reading to be done here. So this is funny because the president has a long history of applauding those who work for him and saying that they're incredibly secure, like Steve Bannon. He resigned on August 18th. On August 15th, the president said he's a good man. He's not a racist. He actually gets a very unfair press in that regard. We'll see what happens. On March 31st, Rex Tillerson was fired. The president, on December 1st, just a few months before, the media has been speculating that I fired Rex Tillerson or that he would be leaving soon. Fake news. The list goes on and on. The president said today that he had a great meeting with Rod Rosenstein. So when is he getting swung?
I think the day after the midterm elections. I mean, remember, Rod Rosenstein's in charge of Director Mueller, who's doing an investigation. And I don't think the president, prior to the midterms, is going to make any sudden moves. The difference, though, Kennedy, is on Thursday, Rosenstein has got a meeting with House people. I believe it's John Radcliffe, Trey Gowdy, and others that are going to ask him some very pointed questions that probably the president didn't ask him on Air Force One.
And the president knows that. He's letting some of these congressional leaders and committee chairs do the dirty work for him. And he's allowing them to build the case that gives him the ammunition to justifiably fire Rosenstein, especially if they can get him to perjure himself or show some glaring hypocrisy, which how hard will that be for these congressmen?
Well, I don't think it'll be very difficult. I mean, first of all, there are many conflicts of interest, apparently, with Rod Rosenstein. There are many people that have now come either testified in public or given depositions or transcribed interviews behind closed doors. There'll be very pointed questions about that. And Mr. Rosenstein, you know, this report had a lot of sources behind it. They have talked to a number of people about it. It is very curious. And even if Rod Rosenstein, according to his own words, was, you know, just out there making this either in jest or saying it hypothetically to the extreme, what was the underlying conversation? And if Congress really wants to get to the bottom of that, they need to invite the other 6 people or so into Congress.
And they also need those memos from Andrew McCabe, which essentially document at least some of those conversations. So I think it's smart for the president to do that. So if you have to make a choice between firing Rod Rosenstein and Jeff Sessions, who do you swing first?
You swing first for the current Attorney General, who's there in name only, the very worthless Jeff Sessions.
Absolutely.
He's never there.
No.
I mean, you never hear him. He's recused himself
from life.
And other than... Yes, he's there in name only. He's the most ineffective Attorney General I've ever heard of in the history of this country.
Yes, he makes us long for Janet Reno and John Ashcroft in ways that we didn't know was possible for our lonely souls.
Could you imagine him on? How about Dancing with the Stars with Sessions and Rosenstein? That would be
very fashion forward and very hot, and certainly as a libertarian I don't judge, and I think it would be a better temporary line of work for both of them. But I share your skepticism of Jeff Sessions, and I think that he has done his country a great disservice by being completely AWOL, because in these tumultuous times he certainly has not been a steady hand on the tiller. Congressman Chaffetz, author of Deep State, thank you so much for being here.